Peace, long life. Believe it or not, I have been quite happy with this Stanley. 20 ounces. Doesn't leak much. I say much because it's a coffee top. It's been pretty good. I highly recommend it. 20 ounces is nice. No, it's not going to hold you all day, but it is something and easy to carry. Working on a little carburetor for an H35 Tecumseh today. Ended up with a bad flow, something wrong, and the carburetor was choking it out, and I think I figured out I got a bad tank vent, but I already had the idea of tearing this apart. While it was apart, I figured I'd show you guys one of the new things that I was messing with. I was looking for a bowl seal, but the problem with the bowl seal is mine is in a kit. So as long as I have a kit, I'm going to take the pin out, new float. The old needle, I was going to reuse that. That's not why I'm here though. Why was I going to reuse it? This is a funky tool that I got on Amazon. It has a teeny tiny little hook on that end. Yeah, I know, because of my face in there it's not gonna. But anyway, there you go. You see a little bit of a hook. What does that hook do? In this carburetor, oh, let me get it where you can see it. Down this hole, slowly put it through, and it pulls the doggone seat out. Do you know I pulled that seat out and the seat is now absolutely reusable? Opposite the hook. It's going to be hard to see, but you roll that little bugger off of there so you don't pull it over the hook. That thing's reusable. Well, that's crazy. I wouldn't reuse one of those. Well, guess what? I'm getting to the point where I do now. And you say, what do you mean? After 64 years, I'm coming up with these Chinese kits that aren't very good. A lot of them. There. The hook's good for something else other than just hooking seats out. Let me show you what else it's good for. Now, this is what I originally wanted, the bowl seal. Double check, be sure it fits your bowl. There's a bowl, needle, or yeah, bowl seal, just a needle, the seal for your main jet, and that would be your high speed, high load main jet. I already have one on there that I'm going to have to check to see which fits better. There are times on these kits that I put the original back in. No lie. In fact, the one I have here is a little smaller than outside diameter and thicker. Makes me think. Debbie's home. Yes, dear. What's next? So, I'm going to show you how to put I took it out with that hook. How about going back in? But here's another problem you have to look at. You see that spring? Poor shape that's in? That's supposed to be parallel. It's not. Now you get the idea of why I reuse a lot of these things. And you saw how I took it out of the package. All I did was dump it out. Anyway, that's closer to what it's supposed to look like. However, I want you to look over here. You see that? Just there you can on my cheek. This upper tang, their little finger there, is too far. It's a monster. So, when they haven't rotted off, take the old one and gently push the spring and pull the. Now this one is exactly the way it's supposed to look. Yeah, I know, you can't see it well, but it's a lot closer, isn't it? Short tail, nice parallel wires. That's how it's supposed to look. Why are we reusing it? Well, I'm reusing it because the old one is junk. I've had too many of those fail, and I actually had 2 or 3 times I worked on a carburetor that they have failed. The spring alone, let alone anything else. Now, yeah, I know now, too many times. But here you see the spring, the loop is down here. For those of you purists, it doesn't matter which way that goes on there. However, you see that in general it holds the needle on there, and that's what we're looking for. Well, before I put that in, we got to put the seat in. Over here, I've already used it. There's some 30 weight 10W30 motor oil. Well, it's built to go in gas. Yeah, well, it'll work Oil lubricates it to get it in. Each one of these has a grooved side. In fact, you might be able to see that better on the old one. There we go. I'm going to put this on this little stem. Take a quick look. You'll see a groove in there. It's not very visible right here because I'm in the focus. But you always put it with a groove up on this tool. That's what this tool is for. So put it on there. Groove is up. I can see it. It's over that little stem. And yes, some of you have already guessed. It's better to go sideways or upside down. There you go. Oops, it started in there already. Gently make sure you're parallel to the stem on several angles, and then just gently push that rascal in there. You might have to walk it a little like I just did because the edges are sharp and they'll catch. We used to use drill bits for years and they work good, but you have to be careful. This one centers.
Were you going to run to Mom's with me?
Yes, dear. Uh-oh. So we got to leave soon to go get to mother-in-law. But I wanted to show you this tool because some of us actually try to save our old parts if we can. Now, slide that in there. Yes, the float often comes out of place. Double check its placement. Come on here. Oh, that dang tang. Let's try that again. That's my failure as much as anything else. There have been times in the past with the originals that we had to cut that tab off because it was too long and we'd catch on some of the castings of the housing. Let's try it this way. There. Alright, now I'll hold it upright, get the pin in there. Now the other thing you have to do is make sure your float is parallel to the surface. Here it's just a little less than parallel. You're always looking at the side. So I'm going to bump that up just. If you're this close and you're unsure, leave it alone. Just hold the float up, never push down on the needle. And then there you go, parallel. So obviously you just heard. Got to go pick up the mother-in-law. It's Memorial Day weekend. She's coming down. Bringing her down to spend a little time with us. Uh-oh. There. Seal on the housing. Main housing always. The short side always goes over the pivot. Always. If it's one way or the other a little bit, it's okay. Main jet. And believe it or not, you don't just crank this down until it stops leaking. Sometimes you actually have to push the bottom out because you need this bowl gasket to push gently. And once it's here, short wrench, give it a nice snug. And that's all you need to do 99.9% of the time. Your float's moving free. Another thing to remember when you're working on these carburetors, notice I actually stopped saying now. This one I think is bad, but it's operational, so I leave it alone. Inside that main stem, you'll see like a side tube. It's plugged at the bottom, and not all, but most of these have a metering pin in there. What's that for? As the engine speeds up and starts drawing more fuel from here, the metering pin comes up and closes off the idle ports to some extent, so you're running almost exclusively off the main port. What'll happen is it'll get stuck, and worse, what it'll do is get semi-stuck. You'll take your needle out, put it in, you'll work on the thing, and then come back over to put this back in, and the needle will be up because it actually comes up against the tip of this in normal operation. So when you turn this upside or near it, because the flow will actually bring it up. And the problem comes in that if you put that screw in there with the body upside down, that pin is in the way, you'll put that in there and ruin that needle, even putting it in with your fingers. Always make sure your body is up. With nothing on the bottom here, of course, give it a tap. to be sure it's down and stays down. I say, if you have to give it a tap, there's a problem. Most likely, yes, but you don't know that. You're being sure the pin is all the way down, which means in its normal travel range, it's probably okay. The only way you're going to know is assemble it and try it. My carburetor is now assembled. You saw this tool in action, pulling out the old seat and putting in the new one. This is the second time, because I actually pulled this one out and put it back in, that I've used it, and I highly recommend it. I got this off of Amazon. It says 1.75 millimeter in SKC number 4, but that's not how you get it off of Amazon. This is a, I don't know how, carburetor seat tool. Just keep looking for Tecumseh carburetor parts and tools, and you'll come up with this on Amazon. I wasn't going to highly recommend it, but today, definitely. All right, you folks have a good day. I got to put this together, and I also have to find something that cleans carburetors better than it does, because I have to manually clean all this crap no matter what carburetor I have. Well, there's my complaint for the day. You guys have a good Memorial Day weekend, and remember, when you're gardening, last but not least, these things open and close quite a bit. You see that's almost perfect now, perpendicular to the surface, which means it's dead center. If you open and close this too many times, it starts to bend the plate, and then the plate goes over center a little and starts restricting your flow, and it'll flop back and forth and cause a flutter. Partly because this isn't latched. The butterfly is the stop, so the butterfly bends. This goes a little bit too far and starts doing this in the airstream. When you're under load, it's not that big a deal, but still, it's one of those things that you just have to watch out for. All right, start with one turn here, a turn and a half here, and then readjust it from there. Another thing to remember is these main jets are not the same. Some place around 6 horsepower, the heavy 5 horsepower is like an HS50, or I don't believe they made an HS50, but I don't believe they ever made an H50. But either way, once you get into the big block 5 horse, 6 horse, 7 and up, there's a 31840 as your carburetor kit. And almost the only difference is the main jet. 631029 is for the small frame engines, 3 horsepower up to about HS50. Anything else, you have to have that. Now you got a 631029 kit, pull your main out on your larger engines and look at it. If it's clean, then use that kit and put the old main jet back in there. But always make sure you have some type of cleaners. Torch tip cleaner, that's what I highly recommend. But always be careful, because any of these torch tip cleaners in particular, because of the way they're built, can break off in there. Now they'll probably slide out, but still. Torch tip cleaners, some type of carb jet cleaners, everything, all the time. And air volume. You don't have to have a lot of air, but you need air. And yes, you can rot it out, wash it out, or do whatever else out. You can push water through them and clean it up and dry them. Everything's fine. Another one, a flat vise. Where is it? Oh, I lost it. Oh, there it is. The top of my vise is machined flat, so I put a piece of sandpaper down there and run this side to side, turn it side to side, turn it at an angle if you have a wide enough piece. Make sure both sides are flat, and this is flat. This is a much critical mating surface. This is even more critical. And these tend, if you have thick gaskets, tend to pull these ears around, and then they have a vacuum leak, or worse, they fracture. It's repairable, but it's ugly. Anyway, what's that groove for? On certain elbows and engines, there's a different adapter. And the adapter bolts to this, and then so you can tighten this, they're offset slightly. And that's what that slot is for. So that the adapter, you can run that screwdriver, well, it's on this side, so that you can run that screwdriver through and bolt to the bolt hole there that would be on the adapter. And then this has its own, and the adapter is slotted. You can bolt it onto here and then bolt it here. What's the adapter for? Literally to twist the carburetor and to put it in a slightly different position for the governing. So you won't see a lot of them, but they are around. Okay, it's time for me to go for certain. Peace out. Lord bless.